Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of the Unfrazzled Entrepreneur Podcast. This is Ryan Rieger and my buddy Stephen Hibbert. Stephen, thanks so much for doing this with me. We will see where this goes. So, guys, in the next episode, we're going to share our stories. I know a lot of you already know who we are, but for those of you that this is a new audience for, we want to we'll share who we are and what how we came to this point, how Stephen and I met. But today we want to talk about why we started this podcast and what in the world is an unfrazzled entrepreneur. We struggled with that name, didn't we?
Yes. We went back and forth on a lot of different names, but I think it's just mostly trying to help people understand being overwhelmed. And the unfrazzled felt like the best word along with entrepreneur.
Yeah, we looked up, I don't know. And we're not even like totally sure like this is like the word, like, unfrazzled. But it's what we're going with for now. And you know what, guys, that's okay. You got to pick something. You can't sit around and look at, trying to figure out the name of your course or the name of your book and just agonize over that for a year. Get the content out and just start helping people, because there is somebody waiting on the other side of your obedience.
Yeah, life lesson is take action. I think this is the biggest aha moment for me, is I'm a classic overthinker. And just having the ability to partner up with people that are more action focused allows me to get a lot more done.
Yeah. There's some other names, some of the other names we talked about, like getting your time back, but that was already used by somebody else. And actually I like that name much better. But so all to say, we're here with Unfrazzled Entrepreneur. We'll explain what in the world that is. But why did we start this podcast? Well, one quick story, and I know Stephen has some stories too, but a couple years ago, before I started outsourcing my social media, I would wake up every day, Monday through Friday, and I knew I needed to be on social media because everybody's doing it. Everybody that is building a personal brand or trying to sell courses, memberships, coaching, they're posting stuff on social media. And it just seems like everybody else's looks so good and professional. And I'm like, gosh, I want that. But I am not a graphic designer. That is not my skill set. So sure, I could go learn that. I could go take a course, take a training program, but I firmly believe I need to stay in my lane and do what I'm called to do and what I'm really good at. But what I was trying to do was I would wake up every day and I would spend an hour like looking for a quote, pulling things from I would go into the books I've written, try to find something good, try to find a picture, something I've shared before. I was trying to repurpose, which is great. I wasn't trying to come up with brand new stuff. But then I'd spend a lot of time on Canva, which is a great program, by the way, but just not my, and it makes it so easy that even a newbie like me can do it. But it was a waste of my time. It was not a good use of my time. And I would get something posted. It would be ugly, not happy with it at all. But I know there's so many of you that even with social media and millions of other tasks that we as entrepreneurs do are in that boat where there are things that you're doing in your business. You're like, I know I should not be doing this. I am not good at this. I hate this task. I see other people doing it. But what you don't realize is that other people may have a team of 50 people or even one person that is helping them out. And I learned quickly, and I hired somebody to help me with my social media. And now it's just, it allows me to not even really think about it too much and to focus on what I am good at and to stay in my lane. So I was frazzled for sure.
I think the time, energy, and effort is a thing that we learn. What's the best use of your time, energy, and effort? And there are a lot of things as entrepreneurs that you have to get done. And I think as an entrepreneur, I want to do everything, and just realizing like now it can't be done that way, and just hiring somebody for help. And I think too, like you said, looking around and seeing like other people have teams of people. I feel like I can make things that look just as good as I'm seeing them, and then come to realization that I am also not a graphic designer. I can't do those things. I spend a ton of time, energy, and effort to make something that doesn't look very good. And then just realizing like, if I would have just paid somebody to do this, it would have been super easy. So I feel like I'm coming out of a state of being a frazzled entrepreneur. I'm doing too much, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to. I've put too much on my plate, and then not account for problems. As soon as something happens, it drags out the time, causing more energy and time to be put into something, and not really in my zone of genius. We just picked up a new house with a pool. The pool pump broke. I felt like I could fix the pool pump. I'm pretty handy. Now, after 3 weeks of still fighting with the pool pump, not having the correct pool pump, ordering the wrong one, just seeing that all the problems that it caused, I was like, I should have just paid a nice man to come do this task
Yes.
and allowed me to free up my time to work on so many other things like this podcast. The other
That's a
business.
good point you brought up, because if it was me in the pool pump, I would have known immediately that's just completely outside of my skill set. I would have hired them immediately. But you actually have the skills to do it. And so it's natural to think, well, I can do this. Let me just do it because I do have the knowledge. Because even though you have the knowledge, I know how to mow my lawn. I know how to shovel snow. I know how to do all this stuff. But should I be doing those things? Well, maybe if I enjoy them. I talk about that a lot too with people that, love mowing their lawn. Well, that's cool. If that's like a relief for you, you can go out and listen to a podcast. If that's like get you away and get your mind, like it just is a fun thing for you that clears your mind. Like what you're doing with your homes and refurbishing them, putting up drywall and all the manual labor stuff that you say you enjoy that allows you to think. I think that's healthy. But if it keeps you away from doing what you should be doing, then it's really not a good use of your time.
With drywall, I've done it so much. Painting, I've done it so much. Electrical inside, like I have a better understanding of that. This is the first pool home I picked up, and I just assumed I can do that a matter of hours, and then now seeing like it drug out so long.
Right.
This is where it's putting too much on your plate and feeling like you can do everything. Also having a problem like hiring people currently, just in the state that we're in. So it kind of forced me to find somebody who's going to take this amount of time. I think I can get it done in this amount of time. And then now looking back and realizing like, oh, I can't, is just another aha moment to me to, I think, really start this podcast and go, here's what I want to help people with. There are, I think, zones of or levels of competency where it's like the tasks that you should be doing, the tasks that you can not do at all. Like you're like, if a pool pump broke for you, you would immediately hire it out. Those things that get me in the most trouble are those things that are not necessarily in my zone of genius, but things that are close.
Yes.
That's where I really get into a lot of trouble. And I think this is what I want to help a lot more people with. And I think stages of life make you adjust into different places, because
that's true.
Financially, before a couple of even years ago, like I would have had to fix that pool pump because I have no other way of doing it other than just struggling through and taking my time and adjusting. But now that I have the money to, I can just hire somebody to do that, to focus on other things that are going to make me more money and are in my zone of genius.
Exactly.
It's a little tricky time right now because it's getting harder to hire people, but this zone of competency or zone of genius, or I think we'll have to find a term for that, but this is where I think we want to help more people be in their zone of genius, because it one brings you joy, because like you said, hanging the drywall and stuff like that is maybe not the best use of my time, but it's a way for me to physically do something while I'm mentally processing something else. Otherwise I'd have to sit down and like twiddle my thumbs, which I'm so distracted that I can't think that way. It's like I need to do physical labor to process information. So it's a cool system that I've built. I just find myself getting into trouble where it's close to my zone of genius. And then I'm like, I'm gonna jump into this. And then that's when I get into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. So if this resonates with you guys, this podcast is for you. If you feel like, if you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're wearing 5, 10, 50 different hats,
100,
and you know that you would love to hire some of that out, but you just don't see the path forward for that, or you would love to be working more in what we mentioned, the zone of genius. That's from my friend Dan Miller, who I actually think he got it from somebody else, another author. But it's those things that bring you joy, that bring you life, that are life-giving, that are actually the things that move your business forward the fastest, and that you love doing. It doesn't mean you can't do other things. Just you want to spend more and more and more of your time on those things that move your business forward and that you enjoy. And there are other people that you can pay that will gladly work for $5 to $10 an hour and take those other things off your plate so that you are freed up. I remember that first time when we were selling furniture. We were selling furniture on Craigslist, and we'll talk about my story later, and a lot of you already know it. But that day that we had a kid from church come to our house and take our 4Runner with the trailer on the back and do our delivery for us, the feeling of, wow, I don't have to do deliveries anymore, was like so freeing. It was like it wasn't that deliveries were a burden, but I just knew in my heart that there are other things I should be doing. So if you're like an Amazon seller, the prep and ship is a thing that a lot of people outsource quickly, because you know that in an Amazon business, an e-commerce business, you've got to find more inventory. And that's one of the things that, typically the person that runs the business is the best at. So, and that's typically what they enjoy the most. So outsourcing those things like the prep and ship is a huge relief that allows you to focus more in on those other things that grow your business faster. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. So if you feel like you're frazzled, well, okay, let's talk. What is a frazzled entrepreneur? Let's get into that. What in the world is a frazzled entrepreneur?
I think that's what I am and coming out of. Overworked, overwhelmed, and then you kind of lose the joy of what you've built. I think it's taken me a long time to build the day-to-day activities that I really enjoy. And I think that getting close to that zone of genius and then jumping into something like fixing the pool pump has taken me out of what I truly enjoy, which is working with my hands and doing something that I don't know much about. It's taking way too much time, energy, and effort to do. And I'm overwhelmed. I've gotten myself into a situation where I can't really get myself out. Now I'm hiring somebody to do that. And I think the control freak in me always wants to do everything. And I think maybe this is another piece that we can help people with, is like, I think the first time I hired a VA, the first time I hired work out and just doing things in the house differently than I first started up was scary, because it feels like you're letting go of control and you feel like this person can't do it as well as me. But I think after a little while you realize people that's their job, they're going to do it. Someone that's going to do that pool pump is going to do it way better than me, because that's what they do day in and day out. The same thing with the graphic work, the same things that I've done with funnels and emails and everything else. Is like, there's a certain point where this is not my expertise. I'm really good at the strategy, the building, the conceptual. I'm a really good entrepreneur. I love building the thing, then moving on to the next. My fault looking back has been managers. I've had a problem with managers. So a lot of the businesses that I build and move on have fallen apart. And that's why I'm excited for this new journey, because I'm like, okay, I'm old enough now to where I don't want such an extreme spiky business. I want to kind of level it out, building in some type of consistent monthly revenue. That's why I love real estate. And now just trying to do that with the business and realizing like it needs to be me, not being a frazzled entrepreneur with all the stuff on my plate, but an unfrazzled entrepreneur where it's a little bit more, I'm in my zone of genius and I'm handing off the tasks and projects that are not my strengths to accomplish what I've set out to accomplish.
Yes. The dictionary says frazzled, showing the effects of exhaustion or strain.
Agreed.
One thing, as you were talking, it made me think of a lot of people think of hiring a virtual assistant, hiring somebody to do prep and ship for their e-commerce business is an expense. And kind of it is, but I look at it as an investment, because there is no reason why, and I keep going back to e-commerce sellers because that's where I come from. But no matter what you are doing, figure out what your hourly rate is. And in e-commerce, there's no reason why you can't be an Amazon seller and making $50 to $100 an hour very easily. And so if you can pay somebody $10 an hour to do prep and ship, that buys you back. Let's say your hourly rate is $75 an hour. When you're paying that person $10 an hour to do prep and ship for you, you're getting back $75 of your time every hour. And so I'll spend $10 to get 75 all day long. So look at it as an investment. It frees you up to do those things that only you can do, and your business will grow. I've proven it out over and over and over again. And so you just got to get to that point where sometimes you just have to make that jump. You have to, like you said, it is scary, and if you're not borrow our confidence that is the way to go. You may not want to hire 10 people all at once. Hire one person and oh, wow, now I have freedom. And you'll see your business increase, because at some point you're going to hit a cap that you only have so much time, and you're going to hit a cap if you're doing it all. So you got to get other people to help you. You got to build a team. The team doesn't mean 10 people that are making 50 grand a year. It could mean somebody in the Philippines that's working for $5 an hour.
I think there's a path to being an unfrazzled entrepreneur. And I think it's a constant adjusting path.
Oh, sure.
I felt like before this season that I was an unfrazzled entrepreneur. I had things kind of squared away. I was doing my daily, what I really enjoy on a day-to-day basis consistently. Then I took on too much work and then became a frazzled entrepreneur again, and then had to realize, oh, this is a new level for me. I need to hand some of this off. I think the very first time I did it was that limit of like, I'm doing everything. Now I'm running out of the hours in the day to actually accomplish all the things that I'm trying to do. Now I need help. That's probably the scariest one to then like reach out and try to hire and not have great success with the first VA I hired and then try to go back. And then is this really worth it? And I hear other people talking about hiring. It seems like a nightmare situation. I'm going through these problems. I don't think this is going to work. It's causing me more stress and more pain. But I think once I dialed that in and learned what it took to actually hire somebody and have them work for me, and realizing that it's not a robot where it's like you give them this task and they do this task exactly. It's like they will also help you with your business. They have ideas. They made it so much easier. They took even more stuff off my plate. That first terrifying situation turned into where it's now when I hit that limit, I go, I have a solution for this. I understand where I'm at. I'm at that frazzled point. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm overworked. Now I know that I need to hand some of this off because my time, energy, and effort is being taken up into things that are not my strength, not my zone of genius, not my joy. And I've been in that position. So I feel like it's quicker to get back to that. Whereas in the beginning, it's you start, you're so excited about this new business, you're making money, then you get overwhelmed and overworked and go, is this worth it? That first stepping off point to hiring a team or getting somebody to help you is terrifying, but it is very, very worth it. And like Ryan said, like take our confidence, because I would never go back now to trying to do everything. It seems like a nightmare situation, but I know that I've done it multiple times and so happy to be on the other side where hiring somebody at different levels, hiring somebody to do the pool is kind of a high expense, especially right now with the lack of workers, but then hiring the VA seemed like a terrifying nightmare situation. And how would I ever be able to pay this person per hour? And what is the monthly? And then what is that yearly? Am I going to be able to make that much money? It's terrifying in the beginning, but then once you see how you can duplicate your task and effort and multiply what you're doing and make way more money to be able to pay that person, you go, why did I not do this sooner? That's most of the people that I help is always go, why didn't I do this sooner? It's like, because you feel like you need to control everything. You're just like me. You're a control freak. You feel like you have to do everything in order to get it done, but that's not true.
Yep. Or the people who feel like, you know, it's going to take me 2 weeks to train this person where I can, or like, let's take one task that takes you 5 minutes to do. It may take you an hour to put together a standard operating procedure or a video.
Or a month when the first time you're doing it.
To do it and train them. But it's a 5-minute task. Well, that's an investment because yes, it's going to take you an hour or 2 hours to put together the documentation to train somebody new to do that task. But once they got it, you got back 5 minutes. If that's a task you do every day, that's 5 minutes a day that you've gotten back. How many tasks do you do that are 2 minute, 5 minute, 1 minute, 10-minute tasks that are things that other people could be doing? That allows you to buy that time back and then focus on those other things. So we're going to get into that stuff for sure. Let's talk about the office building. And this is a really cool visual that you came up with. And this is probably a good printable or download that we can create to show the different levels of what an entrepreneur does in their business. And it's just cool. You want to jump into that?
I'm a visual learner. As I was learning real estate, a good friend of mine has a house that's broken down with the different benefits of owning a house and then how you can, it was pretty much to help you with deal structuring, but it just to let me wrap my head around what I'm trying to do with real estate. I wish there were more visual aids in this business space to give you like a 10,000 foot view. So you go, okay, I'm trying to build my business and these are at least the building blocks that I need so that I can custom build this to my specs. So I think just having an office building with different floors, letting them know, like, to have a business, most businesses have marketing, most businesses have research and development, most businesses have managing. It's just the floors of the business that you will have to run to those floors to handle those tasks in the beginning. But as you grow, you want to be able to hand those off. And you can look at big corporations like McDonald's. The person that owns McDonald's is not going to every restaurant, making every order, taking it, flipping the burgers. He's not doing that. He has at some point to be that big, have that handed off and those SOPs to do that. So I think thinking of it as a visual aid where it's floors will allow you to go, okay, I'm putting on my marketing hat what are the tasks for my personal business that are custom to me that need to get done for me to go to the next level. Some of it is learning, and that takes time. And I think as the business owner, that is something that you can do in the beginning. But as soon as you get to the point where you're like, my business is growing, it's very successful, I have a little bit of money, I can hire somebody to do the marketing and hand that off. As long as you're getting the analytics of it, this is what we're trying to show you in this office building example is these are the different pieces of businesses. You might have a custom floor specific for you, but in general, most people have, I think, 5 floors. There's the maybe financing is kind of the basic bottom floor, then managing operations, marketing, sales. And then, like I said, research and development, which is, I think, my favorite floor, because that's how you kind of structure and do everything.
Yeah. Do you want to go into each of those, or how do you want to kind of unpack that?
I would say management is probably my least active floor. That's the one that I'm always trying to hand off. And managing is just like leading, planning, organizing, making sure those tasks are getting done. That's not my strength. And I think it took me a long time to realize that. And it feels when you're trying to hand those tasks and jobs off that you have to be a really good manager. But if you're capable of just building the SOP, the standard operating procedure of showing somebody else to do it, it is a task that you can hand off. And I do think there are ways to hire managers to do that, but I think strategic partnering is probably a better way to handle or operate on that floor. At least that's what I found that works best for me. And I think this is another reason I want this visual aid is because everybody's going to have a different solution to that. And I think as we have guests on, we can ask them very specific about this and have this as a visual aid and concept that people can reflect back on.
Yep. So you got the management floor, which typically, I would imagine that's not something that people outsource right away. That's not until you have a team.
Yes.
So as an entrepreneur who's kind of doing it all at the beginning, you're doing the planning, the strategic vision and you're always going to, as an entrepreneur, as the CEO, you're always going to be casting that vision. That's not something I think you would ever want to outsource. Now you can partner up with people who maybe can help you see it bigger. And help you with that part of it, but that's probably not the first thing that you're going to be outsourcing.
Everybody's business might have those floors organized differently, but I do agree with you. Managing is probably near the top of this office building, where it's like, this is more of your zone of genius. This is going to be difficult to hand off, and then just working down from there.
So the second one is operations, and you say that's the heart of a business that's providing goods and services. There are some tasks in operations that I think somebody could be. There's even an operations manager that you get to a certain level, you may hire out a COO, chief operating officer, and you're kind of the visionary person, casting the vision, setting goals, and just say, hey, COO, it's your job to see that our people carry this out. No, I'm not at that level. That would be really cool to have somebody that kind of just completely runs the business, and I can be up here just thinking and dreaming and learning and networking. Not there yet, and I would say most entrepreneurs
working towards it,
listening, are not there yet either. But
operations is those day-to-day tasks, like you were saying, to pack and ship, just the things to get those products out the door to the customers. Those are the more operations. I think those are repeatable tasks, almost like the McDonald's example, the dropping the fries. If somebody orders fries, that's an operational procedure that is maybe the easier task to hand off in the beginning, because it's the stuff that you're doing day to day.
In a fulfillment business and an e-commerce business, the prep and the ship, if you're doing you're selling something on your website and you have a stack of books that you're mailing out, that's something that could be outsourced to a fulfillment center, so you're not having to do that task.
That's another reason why I like this visual aid, because there are multiple options to this. I think we'll be saying VA, virtual assistant, to do some of this. Some of it is a business, like the prep and ship business. Some of it is maybe even software that can help you with these and get your time back. But it is just a concept to realize, like, these are different parts of the business. When I'm putting on this hat, I need to recognize that I'm putting on this hat and attempt to build some type of procedural assembly line process for this, if I can. If I can't, then it seems like this should be something that is more custom fitted to me. But the procedures of the day-to-day business is something that you should be able to hand off. Like Ryan was saying, the management is not something that you can just go, here's the assembly line process for managing. It's a little bit more customized. You might have to hold on to that task a lot longer until your business is set up where it has a bunch of SOPs and it can run a little bit more like clockwork. And then you go, okay, the management piece now has to just check these quantity qualities, and it can be handed off at that point. But you will have to start down the chain and just say, what are the things that can be handed off? Marketing is probably the next floor.
Yeah, the next floor
That's
is
like,
marketing and sales. You're always going to be doing that as an entrepreneur, as a business. And that doesn't mean you have to do it all. You definitely can hire people to help with that.
yeah, I think something newer to me is, I have not done it yet, but hiring sales people to do sales calls. That was interesting to me to see, like, oh, I can write scripts. They can understand what my business is about and they can do the sales. So I don't have to be on all the sales calls.
Yeah.
And then my business can scale to the next level because I can hire that out.
Yes.
But marketing, just like you were saying with the social media marketing, sometimes it is just making post, editing a video, putting it up on YouTube, getting the word out there, writing an email. Like, sales copy and all that stuff is, I believe, tasks that can be handed off if you have an understanding of it and create an SOP, or hire somebody that can manage a lot of that for you. Social media marketing is something that I think is becoming a lot more popular now, where companies can help you with social media marketing. That's something that I think are going to be building, is for people to be able to tap in and go, okay, I have a business. I want to be on the internet and make sure my products are getting out there. How do I do this? And then we can help you with the strategy. We can help you with the actual work that needs to get done. The branding building is something that you should be doing as a business. But I think once you have that and you have like a media kit, you can hand it off to other people, and then they can promote your business and kind of work on a marketing campaign, and then go, how do we promote this? What is the next thing we're going to be for next quarter? And then looking at the analytics. That's the part of the business that I think I like the most, is looking at the data.
Yeah.
The more data-driven decisions.
Yeah, because of your social media strategy, at least the way mine is set up, and I'm just learning this from Gary Vee, who has a large team of people, so I can't do the things that he does. Not yet, but I produce pillar content, which is that podcast, the Streams of Income podcast. Now the Unfrazzled Entrepreneur podcast is the one thing that I focus on my time on, as far as the content creation. But then I don't have, doesn't mean that I have to constantly write blogs and do all these other things. That my social media manager can pull from my podcast all the content that they need for that week's social media. And I have books, and I have other things that I've and we have a document. So to kind of give you guys an idea of how this could work, is you as the entrepreneur can have a podcast, can have a blog. If you're a keynote speaker, you've got content out there that you're already producing, that you're good at, that you enjoy, that then somebody can come behind you and pull from that content, repurpose it, and put it on Twitter, put it on LinkedIn, put it on Facebook, put it on TikTok, put it on Instagram, wherever you want it to be, put it on YouTube. And you don't have to think about it. You just focus on producing your podcast, doing your keynote speeches, writing your blog, whatever that one thing that you do is. Maybe it's multiple things, but they'll pull from what you already have. So you're not having to think about what you're posting. They're literally just going to pull from what you're already producing. And it just takes the pressure completely off, because if they're pulling from your stuff, it's good stuff because it's your stuff. And you don't have to think of, what am I going to post today? And you can come in and do Instagram stories if you want to, and supplement that. But it can be pretty much completely hands off, to where you do your podcast, you do your blog, and then somebody helps you and pulls it apart, pulls out quotes, makes memes, makes pretty images, and posts it for you. That's where I know a lot of people I talk to, Stephen, are in that boat, where they know they need to be on social media, but they just don't have the know-how. They're doing it sporadically. So that's one big part of the business I believe we're going to be able to help people with. And we are going to have a service where we can help you do that with repurposing your content, and even helping you create that content, if it's helping you with a podcast, if you don't have a podcast yet. So that's going to be fun, interesting, really excited to help people do that.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of it is the consistency piece. Being more data driven, like if you're doing it sporadic, it's very difficult to know what is working and what is not working. But having other people do it and be able to be consistent with it allows you to be able to look at the data and make better business decisions. Because then you go, maybe TikTok is not the best place. We're spending 100 hours a month trying to do stuff on TikTok, and it's gave us no leads. We can't see it helping us with our brand building. There's not really anything going here. Then you don't have to be on TikTok. Because I think this is another thing with business owners is, do I need to be on TikTok? Do I need to be doing this? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you, other than test try it out and see, but you have to be consistent at least for long enough to make that decision. Should you be on TikTok as a doctor performing surgeries? I kind of don't think so, but
Yeah.
you can test it out. Like, I don't think you should be making purpose-driven TikTok content because it feels like your time, energy, and effort is best served like doing the actual surgery work. But if you're able to make a video or talk ahead or have a call with a client and to be able to take a part of that, then you can take pieces of that and put it on TikTok. Not you doing it, but having a team be able to atomize your content and then use it where all those different platforms are to be able to get the word out to drive traffic back to your whatever your business is and your products.
Absolutely. All right. So that's the marketing and sales. Okay. The next one is finance and accounting. I know this is a huge pain point for most entrepreneurs because it's like the E-Myth book that you and I've talked about before privately, where you've got the lady who makes cupcakes, loves making cupcakes, makes amazing cupcakes, wants to create a business of selling cupcakes, and now realizes, oh man, now I got to do bookkeeping and accounting. That is completely outside of my wheelhouse. And so I know so many entrepreneurs that are trying to do the bookkeeping themselves, trying to do their accounting themselves, do their own taxes. I did it for a long time myself, did it for a lot longer than I should have. As soon as you possibly can, hire that stuff out because that is just a time suck, a energy suck. Now, for some people who enjoy that, they get excited about that and they become accountants and they have their bookkeeping businesses and all that. And that's great. I'm glad those people exist.
Yeah, I guess it's your zone of genius, your strength. Where is it? If you are really good at the numbers and you love it and that's what fulfills you, then stay on that floor. We're not saying like, okay, you have to move on to this. It's what's best for you. We just want to help you with different options at the different floors to be able to say, if you don't enjoy this floor of financing and accounting, you don't have to wear that hat. You can hand it off. It seems like in the beginning you have to have all these hats on, but like Ryan did not like that floor at all. He wanted to get out of the way of that. I like the financing side. Now the accounting piece is the piece that I handed off immediately because I was like, I don't enjoy tracking that stuff. I feel like that's again like managing that floor, and that's not what my strength is. But strategic, looking at the financing, where can we get financing? Like I enjoy that part of it. So I do wear that hat in my business. My business is a little bit more real estate right now. So I think the financing side is a bigger piece of that business. But in other businesses, especially e-commerce, is like the financing is normally not alone, especially in the beginning. It's like your own personal finance. So there's not a bunch of work to be done on that floor other than just the accounting side. And if you don't enjoy the accounting side, hand that off. There are a lot of accounting companies. There's a lot of different solutions to the different floors. We just want to help you with figuring out, is this the floor you should be on? Is it something you should hand off? And how can we help you hand those tasks off?
That's awesome. And one thing I think would be helpful for people is just to be, if they're going to be doing all the floors running up and down those stairs, or maybe they have an elevator in their office building, at least be aware when you start doing that. Okay, I'm taking my sales hat off. Now I'm putting my finance hat on. Just if you can be aware of that, and that's going to be huge, because then you can think, you know what? I don't like putting this finance hat on. Let's figure out how I can never have to put that on again. Doesn't mean you never stop at that floor. It just means you stop in the future. You stop at that floor from a CEO perspective, where you're talking to your finance, the head of your finance department, and you're asking them questions like, how's it going? Let me see the report. It's like my financial statements I get from my accountant. That allows me to see how things are going without me being deep into the numbers. And so you're always going to be stopping at the floors, but you don't want to stop at the floors as a worker. You want to stop at the floor as you are the CEO of this whole thing. And you got people working for you. It doesn't mean you have to have 50 people working for you. It might mean one person on each floor doing the job that you need to do, that needs to get done. And as you grow, you need to add on people. But for me, I have a bookkeeper / accountant. That's one person that is on that floor for me. And occasionally I'll stop in and check and see how things are going. So just have that awareness of, I'm taking the marketing hat on, I'm putting on the customer service hat. Do I like this hat? Ooh, no, I don't like this hat. Okay, let's find somebody that can do that, because that's a task that's very easily outsourced.
Being frazzled, I think, is that same thing where it's, you're not quite sure what floor you're on. You're not quite sure what hat you're wearing. That's where it gets, I think, especially in the beginning, it gets super frustrating. You feel overwhelmed. That's where you're frazzled. That's, I think, maybe the first phase of that frazzled entrepreneur, where you're just feeling overwhelmed. But I think Ryan is 100% correct. As soon as you can at least identify what task, job, floor Am I on right now? What am I doing? Do I like doing this? Is this the thing causing me pain?
Am I good at this?
Yes.
Yes.
Because this is another piece that we want to help you with, is just clarifying to become an unfrazzled entrepreneur. We want you to be in your zone of genius, your strength, to be able to enjoy the work that you're doing and the business that you're building. And I think this is kind of very passionate for me, because I was, especially starting off, like super overwhelmed all the time. And I just felt like this is what being an entrepreneur is. You feel this all the time. And then being on the other side of it and going, oh, being an entrepreneur is what I thought it was when I started. Super fun, exciting. I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff. I'm testing, I'm trying, I'm having success, I'm failing. From failures, I learn and then have more success. It is a fun journey to be on. But if you're the one doing all of the work, that's where it feels like me, like I have a weighted jacket on that I just can't take off. And I think this is why I'm super passionate about starting this now, as I'm coming out of that state of frazzled and then going into unfrazzled again, because I've jumped in and out of this. And I can recognize it much quicker now when I'm feeling that, like, oh, I'm just overwhelmed right now. And I think this allows me to even help, like, clarify communications. Because even with Ryan, I told him, I don't want to start this right this second, because I'm currently, I feel frazzled, overwhelmed. But when I feel like I'm getting on the other side of this, I'll reach back out and then we can actually start this, because I know this is a temporary feeling. Whereas before it felt like this is a forever feeling. Now I understand, I feel frazzled. Let me get back to the state of unfrazzled and feel like I'm back in my zone of genius to be able to go, I'm enjoying this journey and I'm accomplishing a lot of things that I'm trying to accomplish. It's not you just drop it and don't do it. It's you hand it off, you have somebody else help you, you partner, you hire a VA, you hire a full person. These are the things that we want to help you with, and just identify. You're struggling right now. It doesn't have to be the struggle forever. You're hitting a pain point. Clarify which floor you're on, understand what you're doing, what do you like, what do you not like, and then let us help you be able to get the feeling of frazzled to become unfrazzled, uncomfortable, enjoying being an entrepreneur again.
That's good. Okay, and then the last floor is research and development. What's that for most people that we're talking to? What is that piece?
I think for me, it's like the future growth. It's where, to me, it's the lifeblood of my business, because I have an idea, I start the idea, then it turns into a business, then it starts generating cash consistently, and then I go, okay, how do I grow this? How do I go to the next level? How do I make this more efficient? How do I make this better? That's, to me, the research and development, where it's you're just looking at the business and going, what can we tweak? What can we adjust? How do we make this move? Are we in the wrong industry? Should we go somewhere else and really clarify this and take it to the next level? Do I want to get smaller, where it's just like too much work is coming in? I need to raise my prices a little bit to clarify and just make more money from less work. That's the research and development. To me, it could be different in different businesses and different industries, but to me, that's what I think the research and development floor is just like, what is the better parts of the business, and how do I make better decisions in what I'm doing and moving forward?
That's good. Yeah. And it might be testing out new things, new ideas. You don't want to be the squirrel who's going after the acorn and constantly frazzled and following those shiny objects, but you can have a point in your business where what you're doing is working. You've got that bolted down. You've got a team in place that are kind of running that allows you to shift some of your focus over to, you know what, I really want to write this book. I really want to create this course, but I got this e-commerce business over here that I'm into. Well, get that bolted down, get a prep and ship company, get hire shoppers, so that it frees up your time and buys your time to go test out some of these new ideas and test. And then what's cool about the internet is that you can test these ideas out, sometimes free, at the very least, usually very, very, very cheap,
inexpensive, yes,
to see if you even want to move forward with that new thing. Is this getting traction? Am I enjoying this? And so many cool things you can do.
I think another part of that research and development is industries are constantly changing. I read a book a while ago called Who Moved My Cheese? I don't remember exactly all the parts of the book, but it was like, you're taking that same maze route to the cheese. At some point, that cheese is going to diminish. You're going to have to find a new route to new opportunities. I think the research and development allows you to be ahead of that curve, so you don't just get stuck. I think when you're frazzled and you're doing everything you can just to like maintain business, you miss that when the market shifts, when something changes, and you can't continuously do what you're doing to have the same success. You need to be able to adapt to changing times. Being able to be unfrazzled, have it under control, be in your zone of genius, you get to see what things are coming. So when the cheese moves, it's easier for you to adjust. And I
Yes,
think
because you
this
don't
is
have your
maybe,
head buried into the tasks. We were talking
yes.
about this last night with the maps, just thinking out loud. With Callan, for some reason, loves maps, and we were he was asking about satellites and what did you do? But he asked the question because somebody must have told him that our phone GPSs work off satellite. So he said, "What did you guys do before satellites?" Guys, he's 4 years old. He'll be 5 in April. So it blew my mind that he was even thinking about this. And we said, well, we had these fold out maps that you would, Rand McNally made these huge ones that are size of coffee table books that you would open up and find your place, or you'd have these big fold out maps that were, that would have, you couldn't get back together and you'd have to find find your place on the map and look at the signs. And I was asking Wayne, like, man, what is a company like Rand McNally doing now? Because most people don't use those maps. So I don't have the answer. I probably just could look it up and see if they pivoted. But if they didn't pivot, they're done because nobody's using those fold out maps
And that's a
anymore.
repeatable story. I mean, look at Blockbuster now to
Yes.
Netflix. Look at the people that had castles to now we're in gunpowder and everything. I think this is why I'm again passionate about helping people become unfrazzled, because you need to be able to look at the landscape and see what's changing. And sometimes
Yes.
a big company like Blockbuster makes the wrong decision, and it
Yeah.
leads to you going out of business. But
Yeah.
I don't know what they were going through, and I don't necessarily want to help you build a Blockbuster, but I just want people individually to be able to have the ability to make decisions, look at it, and without being overwhelmed. Because now, if a house opportunity comes up and I'm working on the pool pump, I just completely miss the opportunity. And then they go, see what happened? I thought you were doing good at this. And I go, oh, I was too busy doing things that were not my strength and not worth my time, energy, and effort at the level that I'm at. Your level keeps changing, the markets keep shifting. But if you're in your zone of genius, I think it helps to make the best decisions that you can, because you're able to see what's happening and you don't feel overworked, overwhelmed, distressed, to be able to make the correct calls and decisions for your business and for you.
That's good. Wow. That's probably a good place to stop our first episode. We've gone almost an hour, I think. So
Have we? Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that's awesome. This flowed really well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We're going to bring more of these to you. We love this topic. We want to help you get unfrazzled. So guys, we'll see you in the next episode.